Voting as a Catholic, Monday Musings. I'm sure we've all heard the expression, there's two things you're not supposed to talk about in polite company, and that is politics and religion. So today we're actually going to talk about both of those, politics and religion. And we're talking about them, obviously, because there's an election cycle. We could probably keep this video pretty short, I imagine, because many of us have already voted because of the situation we're in, and also because there don't seem to be too many who are on the fence of where they stand politically, so we will keep this short. There's also the expression, all politics are local. So because of this, I'm just going to be using an article that Bishop O'Connell wrote for the upcoming election cycle, and also the Novena he's asking Catholics throughout the diocese to pray leading up to the election. The bishop is going off of the document from the U.S. bishops called Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship, a call to political responsibility from the Catholic bishops of the United States. I'll provide, if you're on Instagram, you have to go to the YouTube channel. I'll provide a link where you can get that document at no cost, and I'll also include a link where you can purchase if you actually want a physical copy of that. In Bishop O'Connell's letter that he wrote about the upcoming election, I'll also include a link for that. And he basically says that we have a dual citizenships because we're both Americans and Catholics. And so because we're Catholic and because we're American, we do have a responsibility to actually go to the polls and vote. It's important for us to always be aware, whatever issues are important to us, those are the issues that we bring to the polls so that we can elect political candidates who support the things that we support. And if we're Catholics, that obviously means the faith is our preeminent concern, the most important thing that should guide, everything in our life. And so issues that directly touch on our faith should always be issues that we bring to the polls with us, because if those issues are important to us, obviously we can't leave them away from the polls. The bishop brought up 8 points that to bring to that we should be concerned with as Catholics, and in particular during election cycles. The first one, he said, was issues that directly affect human life, and as Catholics, we obviously believe that there is the right of the human person from conception until natural death, and so that's the preeminent concern. And in he quotes the Faithful Citizenship, or Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship document that says, the threat of abortion remains our preeminent priority because it directly affects life itself, because it takes place within the sanctuary of the family, and because of the number of lives destroyed. And so abortion is obviously always a preeminent concern for us for the issues that document mentioned. Also, religious liberty. The U.S. Constitution protects religious liberty, and so we should do everything that we can to promote the fundamental right that we have to religious liberty in this country, and also to do anything that would stop persecution of people of faith for whatever reason. And so we obviously have seen some issues that touch on religious liberty, some that have gone to the Supreme Court, and then other issues, even just, vandalizing churches and statues and how that might touch on issues of religious liberty. Also, the third point was traditional marriage and family life, and we do believe as a church that marriage is to be between a man and a woman in the faithful bond of marriage, and if we're Catholic, in the sacramental bond of marriage. And so that's the basic principle, the basic cell of society is that foundational understanding of marriage. The bishop then goes on to talk about the disparity between rich and poor, and how much of the wealth of our country seems to be in the hands of, or really of the world, seems to be in the hand of small percentages of people. And so because of that, we have issues, serious concerns with unemployment, homelessness, inadequate housings. And the bishop also mentions how that seems to be so prevalent in populous cities. Then he goes on to his fifth point was immigration reform, and he says how undocumented persons in the U.S. should always be looked upon with compassion, and that we always have to find humane solutions to issues such as immigration. And we always should be aware when we're showing concern why people do immigrate to this country, even though I know there's some polarization on that. We're probably not going to solve that problem anytime soon, but at least we can. The least we can do is at least show concern to those who have come to this country for whatever reason. The sixth point he brings up is racism and inequality, And he goes on to quote the Declaration of Independence, which says, "All men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And so the church always opposes all forms of oppression and injustice. And so the bishop goes on to mention how we should strive towards the elimination of racism, bigotry, discrimination, equality, and that should be a goal, as he mentions, a goal that we can achieve in our lifetime. The seventh point is violence, hatred, and crime, and so we have a duty basically, not to support any of those things. And the last point he mentions is the ongoing, or the protection of the environment, and he quotes Pope Francis, who, even in his encyclical Laudato Si, spent so much time talking about the protection of the environment and how essential of a concern Pope Francis has made that, and I'm not sure there's ever been such a strong statement, papal statement before Laudato Si, on the protection of the environment. So the church certainly has seen this as a growing concern with the times we're living in. The bishop then goes on to say how obviously that's not an exhaustive list. We still have issues with war and peace, international relations, education choice, healthcare reform, and so all of those we obviously should continue to, as informed citizens, we should continue to strive to be educated on these principles so that we can make those an important priority in our that guides our voting. So just some Monday musings on voting as a Catholic. Again, most importantly, our faith should be the preeminent thing in our life. It should be the most important aspect of our life. And so if it is the most important aspect of our life, obviously that is something we should bring to the voting polls with us. So the bishop then goes on to ask us to pray a novena leading up to the election, and this novena he's asking all Catholics throughout the diocese to pray, and I believe there's also a national one. This is the one the bishop's asking us to pray, that we would pray from Monday, October 26th through Election Day, November 3rd. We would pray each day. The novena prayer is, God our Father, giver of life, we entrust the United States of America to your love and care. You are the rock on which this nation was founded. You alone are the true source of our cherished rights to life, liberty, and their pursuit of happiness. Reclaim this land for your glory and dwell among your people. Send your Spirit to touch the hearts of our nation's leaders and citizens. Open our minds to the great worth of human life and the responsibilities that accompany respecting and protecting human life and religious liberty. Help us to bring an end to racial injustice, violence, and all the evils that divide us. Remind your people that true happiness is rooted in seeking and doing your will. Make us instruments of your peace. Through the intercession of Mary Immaculate, patroness of our land, grant us the courage to reject the culture of death and lead us always to respect life in all its stages and circumstances. We ask this through Christ our Lord. After that prayer, again, you would say this each day from now until November 3rd. Then you would say in Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, and there's an intention that you would specifically pray for each day. Monday, October 26th is for an end to abortion in our country and for respect for life in all its stages, from conception to natural death. Tuesday, October 27th is for an end to the COVID pandemic in our country and all those affected by it. Wednesday, October 28th for an end to racism and social injustice in our country. Thursday, October 29th for the protection of religious liberty in our country and around the world. Friday, October 30th for those who protect and serve us in law enforcement in our country and for an end to violence and destruction, especially in our cities. Saturday, October 31st for those who protect our country and the armed forces at home and around the world, for peace in the world. Sunday, November 1st, for the poor, the immigrants and refugees, for the forgotten and the most abandoned in our country. Monday, November 2nd, for the protection of marriage as the faithful union of one man and one woman, for the strengthening of family life. Tuesday, November 3rd, for those who govern our country and for those who are running for elected office, that they might serve with a commitment to life, respect, compassion, and liberty and justice for all. So I'll include the link with this novena prayer and those specific intentions. So if you can, pray this. The best thing we can always do as Catholics is to pray. So this is one way we can pray for our upcoming election cycle. This was going to be a brief video, but it went a little longer than expected. So just some Monday musings on voting as a Catholic. God bless.